Namaste to everyone and welcome to yet another episode of our show Sadhaks of Sadhana. Sadhaks of Sadhana brings you real sadhaks with their real stories. Real sadhaks, real stories. Sadhaks of Sadhana is our show on the Vedic Sadhana Foundation's official YouTube channel where we bring you interesting experiences and perspectives of sadhana by practicing sadhaks and more. And thank you to everyone who has joined us for the powerful Navdurga Sadhana on the Sadhana app. And some of you already know, Navdurga Sadhana is a potent sadhana that was lost to us, but Vedic Sadhana Foundation has revived it and brought it for everyone to perform and receive the benefits of it. My name is Devi Shobha Chandramauli and I am your host and also a sadhak and part of the Vedic Sadhana Foundation's core team. And it brings me so much pleasure to be here before you presenting the Sadhaks of Sadhana show. Through the perspectives of other sadhaks walking the path of sadhana, we strengthen our practices and grow stronger as a community of sadhaks that has the same shared goal, which is to get more people to realize the beauty and potential of sadhana. Also, as many of you know, the Vedic Sadhana Foundation is an ATG approved not-for-profit organization dedicated to only one purpose, and that is to revive the beauty and glory of the Vedas and make it accessible to everyone. Through transformative programs and the flagship app Sadhana, the Sadhana app, the foundation reconnects individuals with their cultural roots, serving humanity through the way of Sanatana Dharma. And today we are going to be talking about how we can get started on making sadhana an integral part of our lives. Many of us lead very busy lives, are in corporate jobs that demand a lot of our time, and still many of us want to practice sadhana, but we don't know how to get started or how to make it a part of our lives. And to show us the way today, we have Akshay Om Iyer, also a corporate who's been in the corporate world for a long time. Akshay Om Iyer is a disciple of Om Swami, a father, his husband and a son. That means he has all of these responsibilities, he takes care of all of these, and is also a technical writer in the corporate world. His core job is to simplify complex technical information and convey it to customers in a simplified manner. He currently works for Broadcom, one of the world's largest hardware and software companies, and he regularly even blogs at his site Guru Paduka on lots of topics on Sanatana Dharma, and he loves watching his son play football. His ideal day would be to wake up, he says, have a good breakfast, drive his son to school, read books for a few hours while he waits for him, and he loves to imagine driving his son back home. He reads all kinds of books. I guess that is his way of, getting all his ideas for his writings. But his favorite genre is fantasy fiction and also spiritual books. So welcome, Akshay Om Iyer. Thank you so much for being with us on the Sadhaks of Sadhana show.
Thank you so much, Devi. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So, Akshay, I just want to, as you know, the core theme of today's discussion is to help our viewers realize how to integrate sadhana as a part of their lives, even when they are leading very, very busy lives. And I think that is one of the challenges, the main challenges that we face today is that we want to integrate these practices, but we don't know how to get started, how to make time for it. So I would really like for you to share how you got started on your spiritual journey, what sparked your entry onto this path.
Sure. I am a storyteller, Devi, so I'll keep telling stories to answer some of your questions. I've always, I remember even when I was a young child, I used to just sit and chant Lord Shiva's mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, without anybody really telling me. So I guess that spark was there since childhood. Then as I grew up in a very spiritual household. So learned the Hanuman Chalisa, volunteered in a Ganesha temple that was near my house. So my 4 years in college were there. But all of those were actually things I was just doing for myself. What really, I think, turned the switch on was when my Guru Om Swami was doing a beautiful sadhana called Shri Suktam. And in the Shri Suktam, on one of the days, he was telling stories of how the Suktam actually came to be, how different rishis of our culture brought that Suktam to life by chanting the mantras. And in that, he talked about the pain of some of the ones who went through, like uh, Maharishi Shakti died. His son Maharishi Parashara, who was the father of Ved Vyasa, actually postponed his death multiple times to teach his son how to do various sadhanas that would keep this culture alive. And in the end, as a result, he was eaten by wolves. It was at that point in time, I realized that everything that I'm sitting and enjoying today, which is my gurus teaching me this, which is the sadhana being there, is because of enormous sacrifices that a lineage of sages has done through time immemorial to keep this culture alive. And at that time, the switching point for me was to stop making spirituality a personal mission and then talk more about it outside. So that's why kind of my site Guru Paduka, or that's why my LinkedIn, or that's why when I write about the names of the Devi and the meanings, all of that, because we can only keep things alive when we feed them and we nourish them and we cherish them. And so, yeah, for me, the pivotal point was listening to my guru in a sadhana and remembering that the least I can do is give back to the beautiful culture that I come from.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Akshay. I mean, this is great because you said a very important thing. There is a saying that we always stand on the shoulders of giants, right? And we have so many giants on this path that have shown us the way, and it's simply for us to, just follow the path and we'll get somewhere, right? And really, I think what you said was very pivotal thing that you said, that you kind of realize that it is not just for a personal mission, but also as a way of giving back to a culture that has given us so much, and for the people who have really strived to show us the path and show not just us but for the entire humanity. And I'm sure since you started your journey, there would have been some evolution, right? There would have been some evolution to your perception of spirituality and how you got started, and what you're doing now. How has the path evolved?
Sure, and it'll kind of take me back to the original question you had, right? Like, how do we do it in a corporate life, in a busy life, in when you have multiple demands on your time? So I'll kind of tie both those things together. So basically, one day I was sitting in a friend's farm. It's a beautiful farm, lots of trees. And I was looking at a beautiful giant tree that's probably been there for 40, 50 years. And I was just thinking, no matter how much money I'm willing to spend or do whatever, right, this tree is going to take 50 years to grow. There is no way for me to shortcut that process. And that's when one of the deep things came, right? We all seem to think of spirituality as almost correlated to the way we grow up. Like one day Devi Ma will come, she'll ask us a multiple choice series of questions based on the scriptures we've studied. We can give the answers. If we go 80 plus, we are done, right? That's not how, as I looked at the tree, I realized it's probably not how it will work, right? It's the tree comes from a seed. The seed's there for a long time buried. When the conditions are right, a small plant comes. It requires water, it requires sunlight, it requires manure. And slowly, that tree then becomes the giant tree that we have, right? So from me, that the personal realization at that point in time was that, like, my guru's grace is that sunlight. The knowledge is the kind of manure that I put, right? But everything needs to be in balance. Too much of knowledge can be a problem, just like too much of manure can be, too much of water can be a problem. So you have to kind of give it time, and you have to let the nourishment happen, and you have to trust in nature for that seed to become a tree slowly. And that's kind of took a lot of load off me, because usse pehle spirituality was also kind of an ambitious process, that you had to do this, then you had to do this, then you had to do this, then this sadhana, then that sadhana. And then I realized that it's okay. My job is to just turn up daily, do the thing I'm meant to do with ease, enjoy the process of growing up from a seed to a tree. And as I do that, I can trust the sunlight, which is my guru's grace, and the nurturing, which is the Devi's knowledge, and something else to come together and make that work. And so, in coming back to the whole, like, how do you do it in a busy corporate life, right? You realize with the beauty of Sadhana app that you don't need that much time. What you need is just waking up in the morning, committing to saying, I'll do this Abhishekam or this Nitya Puja or this Japa for some time. One of the joys of kind of practicing spirituality every day is for example, the Navdurga sadhana is ongoing, right? And the way I do it is typically the morning part of it, I do it at home. But the evening part, when I'm doing the evening part of the sadhana, I'm at my son's football ground. And I've just closed my eyes, put on my headphones, and I do that process silently. And it works beautifully because the sadhana is happening wherever I'm going. And if there's somebody, sometimes people will look and come and ask me, what were you doing? That's one more beautiful way to kind of talk about our culture and introduce the beautiful world of sadhana to them.
Absolutely, and it's really nice that you have showed how we could use the sadhana app in between our activities and really progress a lot in our spiritual path, right? I would just like to understand, given the different things you have tried out, what was unique about the sadhana app that you felt added to your progress trajectory in a unique manner?
Well, what is unique about the sadhana app is the person who conceptualized the sadhana app. And I want to tell you a small story that kind of hopefully makes it clear to people, right? Or at least that's how I got my own clarity. So if you traditionally look at Indian spirituality, we are blessed because we have almost a self-correction mechanism. Every time that there is something happening and there is a divine adjustment kind of that happens. So we have too much of, let's say, spiritual practices that are ritualistic, and then suddenly you will have Gautam Buddha coming in and changing the complete direction with Buddhism. When we have too much of kind of Buddhism taking over, you have Adi Shankara who comes back, claims the mantle of Sanatan Dharma back, brings back one aspect of it. Advaita starts dominating, you have Madhavacharya who comes back and kind of dominates the part of bhakti, right? So this culture is blessed with having beautiful saints who have come and shown us the way. But for me, the most pivotal moment was when you have Maharishi Vedvyasa, because we are coming from a point where everything is transmitted orally to a point where stuff needs to be written down. So that's one of our most pivotal points to happening it, right? And how does that happen? Like initially, I used to, because you don't think through these things, I used to think subconsciously, right? Almost somebody is typing out the whole Vedas on a Google Doc and emailing it to all the rishis to say this is what you follow, right? That's not what was happening. This is 7, 8,000, 5,000 years ago. The technology didn't exist. So as I was researching this, you realize that Maharishi Parashar was roaming around all of India trying to create a climate for Vedic revival to happen. And he entrusts that responsibility to his son, who has deep ties with Hastinapur. And he's gone up to the king and he said, I need you to sponsor a specific yagna, which gets people from all over India or sages from all over India to attend it. And in that attendance, it takes 12 years for him to actually lead that process of documenting all of our 4 Vedas, including the Atharva Veda, for it to happen, right? And that's why we end up calling Kurukshetra as Dharma Kshetra even before the war happens, because Dharma literally gets written down there. But who was Vedvyasa to actually do this, right? What were his qualifications? Like he was born almost ordained to an enormously powerful rishi. His father taught him sadhana since a very young age. He's probably the first person to do Devi sadhana fully, completely, and bring it to us. So all of the Devi upasanas we know are a gift from him. That leads to a beautiful energy rising within him, and then he writes all of these things, right? Or helps do all of these things. When you take it back to today, right? And I look back at my guru, his mother was foretold by a rishi that a divine soul is coming to join us. He is very, very young when he hears his mother chanting a Lord Shiva stuti from Ramcharitmanas and sees Lord Shiva in his childhood. He comes, as a child, he started doing Vedic sadhanas through reading through different parts, completely immersed himself in sadhana, goes to Australia, sets up a business in the field of technology, entrepreneurship, comes back, goes to Himalayas, has a darshan of the Devi, has the darshan of Lord Vishnu, comes back, and now sets up the ashram and the Vedic sadhana app, right? So it's not somebody, like anybody can build an app in this world today, right? There are tons that will tell you, you can do this or you can do that. But the person who's built this app is someone who's done all of that together. And in this pivotal moment where we are moving from books to digital world created a beautiful, beautiful experience where everything that you could have done traditionally, you can do digitally. For me, that's why the app is very powerful, because it's not built out of an ideation chamber for someone to profit on Dharma, but by someone who actually stands for Dharma and who's seen everything that he has experienced and put it into the app.
I think you've summarized the entire journey of Sadhana app and its founder in a very beautiful manner. And I think, also, I think the way you have brought out the aspect of Sanatana Dharma, where we kind of recalibrate and readjust over ages, not just in this age. And it kind of really speaks to what we are talking about today, right? How do we recalibrate to today's age where we have such a busy lifestyle? How do we recalibrate and integrate Sanatana Dharma into our lives today? Because we have done this, we're not doing this just today. We've been doing this for yugas and ages and centuries and decades, and now we are here. And we just need a different approach. And I think Sadhana app is definitely the answer. And you encapsulated that idea very beautifully. Actually, I would also like to know, because I think part of your evolution, your path has been your swadhyay, if I could say that, right? Because you do read a lot and you also put your thoughts in perspective in your blog, Guru Bhagavata. So how has your sadhana helped with your swadhyay? I would really like to understand that.
Sure. I'll definitely share that. It's an interesting. So when I write, there are typically what happens is I start with the topic in mind, but as I get into the flow, it kind of writing just happens. When you're in flow, stuff just keeps happening. So sometimes I'm myself amazed at where I ended up given where I thought I would be. But one specific aspect, like I can tell you, is one of the things that sadhana does beautifully is that the concept of the ishta that you worship is no longer theoretical. You do feel them within you and you can talk to them, and in their own way they respond to you, right? So one day it was the Navdurga sadhana that was happening, the sadhana we are in the middle of today. And I just went and asked Ma that I know you are the mother. Why should anybody remember 1,000 names of their own mother? I don't understand. Right? I am happy calling you Ma, right? Why should we have the whole Lalita Sahasranam? I just don't get it. Yes. So coincidentally, so I just left that question hanging and I continued doing Navdurga sadhana, right? So on Guru Paduka and also on LinkedIn, you will see an article called Uber and Lalita Sahasranam, which is basically, I started writing that article because Swamiji has written a book in Kundalini called Kundalini, in which he has mentioned 3 names of Ma. She is Rudra Granthi Vibhedini, Brahma Granthi Vibhedini, and Vishnu Granthi Vibhedini. So these are the 3 knots that we have, and she is the Kundalini energy that is going and destroying these 3 knots. So I was trying to correlate it to the idea that any company, for example, Uber, that's created, goes through a period where there's the inception of the company, somebody has an idea, right? The creation is the Brahma Granthi. You want to preserve it and you want to foster it, that's the Vishnu Granthi. And sometimes you are out there destroying competitors and doing all the other things sometimes, right? Which may or may not be the best things. That's the Rudra Granthi. So she is the consciousness that kind of breaks through all of that. So I wrote that article. It was beautifully received. I was very happy, thinking I was never capable of writing something like this. And I put that there. It's 3,000 odd words, right? And a couple of days later, I just hear this like laughing coming in my own head that says, you wrote 3,000 words about just 3 names of mine and you learned so much. Imagine what happens when you know all of them. And that's when I realized that what are names, right? So Ma, when she appears, right, basically the devas are telling her, Nityas, she is perfect. We don't know how to describe her, how to pray to her. Can you tell me that, right? And in order to explain Ma's character, you get 1,000 names. And that's when I realized that names are merely, so if you have something infinite, but yet you have to understand it, then names are the only thing you can rely on. And what essentially from within came was that you can just worship me happily as mother, I'm perfectly fine. But if you wish to understand me, right, my names are simply steps that allow you to come to that part. So that's there. Sometimes when I'm writing something, I really get stuck. So I'll just close my eyes and pray to Ma, these are two very different topics. Can you help them come together for me? Sometimes it's just maybe 20, like I've read since I was a child, so 20 years of different reading stuff across spirituality and sciences, and somehow kind of things just connect. So that's how typically sadhana and swadhyay go together for me.
Thank you, Akshay. That was so beautifully explained. I think we all go through such moments of lucidity and also confusion. Lucidity, confusion. So it's like a cycle, and definitely sadhana is one of the potent tools that we could use to, break the cycle and really experience that divine quality and be close to the divine. And I think you said a very beautiful word where you said that as you progress or as you keep doing your sadhana, your ishta is not a concept anymore. It's you start experiencing, you start talking to them, and like this, the way you have expressed your own experience, I think a lot of people will also attest to the fact that some kind of a message or some kind of a divine inspiration comes to them on a question that has been worrying them, or just that just strikes them sometimes in a moment of questioning. And I think what you have expressed here is very relatable, so thank you very much for sharing that so beautifully. I would like to ask one last question. What would be your message to people who are wanting to join the path of sadhana and wanting to get started, and what I mean, how do you think we could inspire people to get started on some kind of a path? What would be your message to them?
Sure, I'll say a couple of things on that, right? One is how do you get started, but most importantly too, how do you keep going? So to get started, one of the most simplest things to get started is the beauty of Sadhana app is sometimes you don't know who your Ishta is. Like I was lucky, like I was born just with a longing for Lord Shiva. But for many, many people I know, it's a process to discover it. The beauty of the Sadhana app is all of our primary Vedic gods and goddesses are there. And some of the most beautiful things you can do is spend some time with them, whether it's through Abhisheka, whether it's through Japa, whether it's through Yagna, right? Don't be afraid of starting with maybe Lord Vishnu, Devi, Krishna, Rama. It doesn't matter in the end. Like nobody's sitting with an attendant saying, yesterday you were in this class, today you're in this class. It doesn't work like that. So be where you are and gradually, like Swamiji says, he's made a very simple thing. Do your Ganesh sadhana, Gayatri sadhana, Guru sadhana as three basic simple sadhanas, and your insights will come to you. There is without doubt your insights will come to you, right? But the more important process is once it comes to you, right, you have to do two things. One, you have to continue, but one, you have to show gratitude. And showing gratitude, one of the best ways is the dana aspect of sadhana. We seem to think that giving dan or asking for money is something you're like, Google makes it believe today that everything is free, whereas it's not, right? There is blood, sweat and tears to make anything. But dan is not you giving something. Dan actually fundamentally changes something within you. There's this beautiful short story of somebody walking up to King Janaka once and saying, it's unfair. You are a king, you are a Brahmagyani, your daughter is the Devi herself, your son-in-law is Lord Vishnu. One person should not have so many things, like it's just unfair. And so he also ponders, he's never really thought about it, right? He's living his own life. He just goes to sleep with that thought. And in his sleep, there's a rishi who comes and says, or there's a voice that comes and says, walk to a particular tree. There's a rishi sitting there, he's eating leaves. Go and ask him. So he wakes up, walks the entire day, reaches the rishi is eating leaves. He smiles, he says, Janaka, you have come to me. I can't give you the answer. Rest here. Walk more. Tomorrow you will encounter a rishi eating ashes. So he walks the next day, encounters a rishi eating ashes. Again, the rishi says, Janaka, thank you for coming to me. You have one last journey to make. Go to this village. The headman has had a baby. The baby will give you the answer. So he walks the next day, reaches the baby. And the baby smiles and says, Janaka, when many, many, many lifetimes ago, hundreds of years ago, we were all 4 kids born to a Brahmin lady. And we were all hungry for the past 3-4 days when our mother came with 4 pieces of chapati and gave it to us. We had a guest in the house who came and he said, "Can you feed us?" And in the Sanatani culture, feeding a guest is the most prominent thing, right? So the mother says, "Go and talk to the children. Like, how can I've given them the food, I can't snatch it back." So the first kid says, "If I give you the food, oh stranger, then what will I eat? Ashes?" And so this kid says, "I was reborn as this sage again and again, and I am eating ashes." Uh, the second kid says, "If I'm hungry, then what will I eat? Dry leaves." And same thing, right? The another kid is saying, "If I give you my food, I'll die." And so this kid says, "I am this young child who keeps getting born every time and dies. And Janaka, you were the fourth one. You happily handed him his roti and said, 'It's my dharma.' And you rested in Vaikuntha for such a long time. And now you have come back as Janaka. That's why you have what you have, right?" That's the power of dana in our culture. So when you're using the app, when you discover the joy of it, when you go to temples, wherever you do, right, the little that you give away, my guru used to say so beautifully. He says, "I cannot explain it to you, but trust me, the only thing that will stay back with you is what you give away. Everything else you will lose anyway," right? So yes, use the Sadhana app. Hopefully donate a little to this cause or to any cause you care about, and you'll be astounded by how far you can come. I was an atheist at some point in time in my life after being born into a spiritual house, right? So if it works for me, it can work for anyone.
Thank you, Akshay. Thank you for sharing that beautiful, beautiful story. I would really like to invite all the viewers here to also take the pleasure and immerse in the bliss of the path of sadhana. And this is a perfect opportunity because we are in the middle of a very potent, powerful, some even say it is secretive because it is Gupt Navratri. And the Navdurga sadhana that you do now is very powerful and it can give you immense blessings. It is like, having a direct communion with Ma herself, Devi herself. And it's a perfect time to, plant the seeds of transformation in you. And the bija, that is the seed of Ma herself, takes a sonic form. And there are so many potent mantras that are configured within the app, which takes you through the form and the aspect of the 9 forms of Devi on the app. And if you've done it so far, it is great. But if you have not, then tomorrow is the last day of the Navdurga sadhana, and you can still take up the sadhana and offer your devotion to Ma on this last day and still get the blessings of it. And of course, we have the Navdurga sadhana coming again, so you can take the opportunity to perform the full sadhana the next time. But now you can still do it for the last day at least. Ma Siddhidatri is coming, so please do take the opportunity. And like Akshay has explained, Sadhana app is such an incredibly easy way to tap into this energy of sadhana. All you have to do is tap on the lion, and that is for Navdurga sadhana. But even otherwise, there are 11 digital temples. You can get started with anyone, any of the deities that you feel a connection to, or just want to even experiment. And like Akshay said, it will take you on the path. You will get your insights. So thank you for joining us, and we will be back again with another guest the next time over. But thank you very much, Akshay. I really want to thank you for your time. I know that you have taken time from your busy schedule to come on this show and share your experience with us. So thank you, and very grateful for that. And so I would like to request everyone who is viewing here to please subscribe to the Sadhana channel, follow our social media channels, and stay tuned because we have many, many, many potent sadhanas coming, and we ourselves as a sadhana team will take you through it, handhold you through the sadhanas, and you can see the results for yourselves. Namaste to everyone, and until next time, goodbye.